We're at Flexjet HQ in Cleveland, and this behind me is their Global Command Center. This is where it all happens, and at any one time, there are dozens of aircraft in the sky. So you can imagine there's a lot of logistics. Now we're going to learn a little bit more about it. Can you just tell us a little bit about what happens here? This is pretty amazing.
So this is the central hub for our operations. We've got a number of departments that are housed inside this Global Command Center. We've got our maintenance teams, our scheduling teams, flight communications, and flight tracking. Those are all in the lower levels, doing the day in, day out scheduling of all of our flights. We do operate a floating fleet, so all of the airplanes that you see behind me here, we're building that schedule 24 hours in advance. So I would say 2 days from now, I generally have no real idea where the airplanes are going. And that allows us to stay kind of nimble and dynamic with whatever the challenges are that we're going to have throughout the day, whether that be weather, mechanicals, or owner pop-ups and requests that come in.
Okay, so can you tell me a little bit, if I'm an owner, what happens when I need to, like, what is the basic start to finish when I need to go? So say I need to go from Cleveland to Teterboro.
So you would first call in to our owner services team. They're right down the hallway there. They'll book the trip. They'll take all the details. If you were to need any catering, any ground transportation, anything special with the trip, they'll input all that and they'll work on that piece. And then the trip kind of gets handed off to the operations team. So if that trip was for tomorrow, this team in here would pick that trip up right away, and we would look to find a tail number in the fleet that could do that. If it's a few days from now, it'll sit, and we'll do various reviews on it. We've got performance reviews to make sure that we're accommodating everything and catching everything.
Do you differentiate between like long range versus, or like Gulfstream versus, are there different teams, or it's all one?
We do. Yeah, so we've got, we do have the different fleet types. So as an owner, if you're buying into our program, you're buying into a specific aircraft, which will then give you access to that fleet type. So if you're a Phenom owner, you will get access to any Phenom that we have. You may not get your tail number, but you'll get an aircraft that looks very similar. If a Phenom isn't available, what we do is we'll give an operational upgrade. So if we were to look at one of those screens, you know, as I was explaining before, we've got the blue legs, which are in request. And then if it's red, it's an operational upgrade that we have provided for optimization and efficiency.
Okay, and then what are we looking at in terms of like orange and purple?
So all of the colors are going to tell me a story. Everything that we've got designed here is going to tell me a little bit of a story. So if we were just to grab any one of those tail numbers up there, I could see the starting location or where it is currently. I can see the tail number, and then I've got these brackets outside each one of those blocks. Those brackets will show me the cruise duty day. That's something I've got to be mindful of throughout the day. And then each one of those blocks tells me what kind of trip that is that the airplane is doing. So if you see a blue, that's owner is in his requested cabin type. If it's red, we've, as I said, provided that operational upgrade. If it's purple, we're connecting the dots in between. Those are all the deadheads. So we're going to have to reposition in between the owner flights. And then if you see green, those are generally training legs or legs going to maintenance. And then the big gray blocks that you're seeing, those are our scheduled and unscheduled maintenance lines. We're a little bit heavy right now as we gear up for peak travel. We've got our mind, you know, on Thanksgiving and on Christmas right now. So we want to make sure that we have the fleet cleaned up for that.
Okay, great. And then this is obviously the flights that are currently in the air?
Correct. So in the middle here is all the Flexjet US fleet. So you can see we've got all of these aircraft in flight right now. Again, each one of those colors corresponds to what you're seeing over on the side there. So if you see blue aircraft, those are those blue trips, red, pink, all of that kind of stuff kind of coincides with what you're seeing. It'll also alert us to something that has changed in the flight schedule. So if you see somebody that has turned red, that's a diversion from their original destination. It highlights, it draws our eyes to it right away. We can also get an overall kind of national airspace view of what weather we've got to contend with for the day.
Okay, so when that's happening, is that usually because of weather or because of, like, I guess all of
Traditionally, it's a weather issue. If you're diverting, traditionally it's weather. It could be maintenance. Maybe they've encountered something, but with the fact that they're continuing on to Rochester, it's probably a weather diversion.
Okay,
yeah.
All right, great. And so if in the case of like a maintenance situation, are you like getting ready then to send another plane?
We are. So as soon soon as there's an issue that is encountered by the crew, they'll call into our maintenance control team, and this entire side of the room is all dedicated maintenance controllers waiting to field those phone calls from our crew members. They'll first try to troubleshoot it with them. If we do need to involve a vendor and the airplane's going to be hard broke, that's where our operations team is kind of handed off to, and they're notified, hey, you're going to need to find a new option for this. So we have a day of scheduling team that's dedicated to finding those new options, and then briefing that out to the owner services team via the owner service reps that we have here in the room, so that we can kind of get all that information as quickly as possible. It really does kind of hand off from one side to the other.
Okay, so like when you walk in here, what do you look at first? Like, do you just immediately do an overview?
So what I look at first when I come in is I look at the overall flight schedule. I like to be able to see, you can kind of get a gauge for when is the busy period of the day coming. So if I look right now, it looks like our flying is just starting. We haven't really gotten to the meat of all of these. We've got these red lines that go down the middle of all of these screens. That's current time. So if you see, we're just now starting on the first legs of the day, which means we've gotten off successfully, which is a great start to the day. Then there's the second wave. You can see in the middle of the day, we've got a lot of purple legs connecting, and then we've got a second wave. So that means we're going to be busy throughout the day. So that's what I like to gauge is when is this room going to be at its busiest? When do I really need to focus in on it? And then I'll kind of scan over here and I'll look at the weather and I'll see if there's weather pushing into the northeast, I know we're going to have some type of struggles with that. So we can get ahead of that by having our team look and see if this was to be delayed, what would be the fallout further down the line. And they'll jump into action whether they need to or not. If they feel like something will be delayed, they'll get out ahead of it and they'll find a new tail number that can accommodate. And as I said, with these screens over here, these private terminal views that we have are really important because we can see how congested the ramps are. Are we getting a lot of volume there? Is there weather moving into the area? Does it look like, I mean, in Naples, you always get those afternoon storms, so you can kind of see those rolling in. So having this view is quite unique and something that we've really integrated into the way that we do things.
Okay, awesome. And then what about for like overseas trips and do you hand that off or do you?
So we do. We have a whole European division, Flexjet Europe, that we have owners with, and we do trade back and forth. So if there's an owner of theirs that's coming stateside, we can head out there and pick it up, or they can come over here, and we do trade for optimization purposes that way. But we do have, with our G450, G650, and the new G700 fleet, we're doing a number of international crossings every week, upwards of 30 to 40, and it's continued to grow over the years, and we expect the G700 to just continue that.
Yeah. All right, awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.